My name's Chloe and I'm 20 years old and I have a 4-month-old son, Owen.
I'm Becky, I'm 19 and this is Alfie, he's 4 months old.
I'm Sam, I'm 22 and I've got a little boy called Leo who's 2.
How bad is that? I don't actually remember my life before him. I went out a few times a week, did a fair bit of socialising, I would say.
Before I was pregnant I would go out nearly every night. I wouldn't really go home or anything, I'd just stay out at other people's places and live the good life.
The life before having a child was I didn't have to like, no one depended on me. I could do whatever I wanted, didn't have to find any care, or I had money to myself. I could go out when I wanted and all that lot. So it was just fine. But now it's just hard in a way.
Pure shock. Pure shock. Panic, worry, all of it.
When I found out I was pregnant, I was shocked, anxious, worried really. I didn't know what to do, so yeah, it was a difficult time.
I never even thought I was, to be honest, and then I cried. But the hardest thing was to tell my mum, because she didn't have a very good reaction to it.
Definitely telling my parents. Scariest bit of them.
I thought she would be fine with it in a way. Like, obviously she would be fine with her daughter being pregnant, but yeah, she just turned around and said, like, do you want me to congratulate you or do you not want me to, or whatever, and it's just a bit hard. And then I started crying after that.
They were shocked initially, and it took them quite a long time to get used to the idea, so it was just, there was disappointment, and then there was anger, and then there was acceptance, like, on my parents' part.
Once you got your head around the idea and you told everyone that was important in your life, then it did kind of change from, oh my god, to this is a good thing.
I kind of got used to it in a way, because me and his dad were planning, I know it sounds horrible now because he's here, but we were planning to get rid of him, or the baby, because we weren't ready. Like, we couldn't afford it, and plus it was just like obviously it was a massive shock, but then I just couldn't go through with it. So after that we were just buying clothes and just really excited for him to be here, really. But
It took a long time for me to accept the fact that I was having a baby. It wasn't until I was like 7 months pregnant that I thought, oh, I'm having a baby. Like,
It was a big change in the way that I lived life and where I lived, because I obviously lived at home before and I had to move, and I don't know, there's a lot of things you have to give up. You realise that you obviously need to work more and your money doesn't go on you, it goes on other things, and so yeah, it changes drastically.
not being able to do things and just being restricted, and I suppose like when, I don't know, like when I was 20 weeks pregnant or so, I felt him kick, and that was a massive, that makes it real. That made it quite real, like seeing his little foot and stuff, but it's a massive change. Like, your lifestyle has to change completely.
The way your lifestyle is when you're that young, when something like that happens to you, it makes you grow up a lot faster than you probably would have before.
yeah, it's just weird. Like, I've got to be a role model now, and yeah, it is quite hard in a way, because I still want to be like, I still want to act my age, but yeah, I've got to be a role model now, and it's, yeah, a big responsibility.
You have a massive responsibility, but you chose to take it on. So everything you do, it's because you put yourself there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you've got to look after someone else. Like, you can't, it's not as if you can say, oh no, I can feed him later, because he won't let you. He'll scream at you until you feed him.
You don't know how hard it's going to be until you have your own, because when I remember when I was younger, or before I had Leo, like, I had baby cousins, I think, oh yeah, that's easy, blah blah blah, but it's not. The late nights, early mornings when they wake up and want to feed, and you're tired, and then going all day without having a sleep because you've got to look after like the baby and yeah.
Now, everything you do, you think about them, like how it affects him, and you know, like if you're too tired, like how that reacts on him and how you feel. They obviously pick up on that. That you have to kind of put you aside, and they're number one.
It's hard. Like all my friends know I've got a child now, so like they do know it's hard. But like when it comes to the little things, like that's what they don't think about.
That's the thing. I haven't got anyone else to support me. Like even though my parents, I live with my parents, they expect me to do it on my own, which I totally understand because, you know, as they put it, it's my, you know, you do the time, you pay the crime. So I love him. It's exhausting, very exhausting. I definitely felt that I was worried about the way people were going to look at me. Anyway, you know, they do look at me. People do look down at me, especially because I'm a single mum.
Like when he was born, I couldn't go in town on my own just in case he cried, and like people would turn around and go, ugh, teenage mum.
You know people do, but like they look at you and then they take a double look. But it's whether you choose to take any notice of it. But it's, you know, you yourself know whether you're a good parent or not. And whether anybody else thinks so, it doesn't really matter.
You know, like I can see people now, like walking past, like I can see people like, I don't know, underage and pregnant. And like I'm going to see people looking at them and I think, God, that used to be me.
Where I live, it's quite a posh area, what people would consider, like there's a lot of older people, and I get quite a lot of looks and things because I don't have a ring on my finger. Like, for example, in the doctor's surgery, people look down at me. In my workplace, people will make comments, and you know, a lot of people assume that because I'm a single mum, I'm just going to scrounge for the rest of my life and live in a council house. So,
like, prime example, I went back to work and somebody assumed that I didn't need to be there because their taxes paid for my child. And you know that when somebody walks past you in the street, that's exactly what they think. And it does annoy me that I'm tied with the same brush.
It's hard with money, but yeah, because obviously he goes nursery and that's like a lot of money a month, and I get help with like tax credits and stuff, and my housing benefit paid for and all that lot. But I didn't want to be like a sit-at-home mum. I wanted to go out and earn money because I didn't want to just sit on my backside and like, you know.
I'd rather go out and be proud to say that everything that my son earns, or everything my son has and everything I have, is because I've worked hard for it, not because it's been given to me from somebody else and I haven't earned it, because I don't want him brought up that way. Otherwise he'd be brought up thinking that you get given everything and you don't.
No, it doesn't make me a better mum, because someone could be sat at home all day and they could still be a good mum, but I just didn't want to be that kind of person. So I wanted to go out and work and earn money.
And you know that if you don't go out and work for it, he can't. You have to. And that's a responsibility you take on, and especially if you don't get that help. Like, you know, if you get it handed to you, you're going to take it and you're going to sit there and do nothing. And then, you know, it can be done, going out and working full time. Just because you have a child doesn't mean that you have the right to sit on your ass.
I want him to grow up with the values that, you know, working it's good to work, and it feels better to earn your wage than just get given it. You know, like, I'd rather he was brought up with those morals.
Like being polite, manners, respecting people, and because that's the way I was brought up, and you know, get a good job and money, and contraception is going to be drilled into his head.
I wouldn't want him to get anyone pregnant until he was older. Just because it's demanding. It's very demanding, and I want him to have I want him to go to university. I want him to come back with a degree, get a good job, and then get a family. But everything's his choice, whatever he did. But I'd support him. But I don't want him to be one of those drunken people at a silly age. And you know, there's the stereotypes again that you don't want him to turn into. So I'm going to try and raise him as best as I can on my own. But I know it's going to be difficult.
I kind of want him to look at me and Jamie and say, you know, he's proud that we're his parents. And, you know, that he does know that, you know, you have to work for things in life. You don't just get them.
I couldn't imagine my life without him now. because my life revolves around him, and without him, it just if I think about it, it just feels weird. So yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's, you know, I don't get enough sleep, but he's worth it. It's unconditional love that he gives out to me, and I enjoy him, even though it's exhausting. I do kind of wish that his dad was involved, but there's nothing I can do about it. Like, doing everything by myself, I suppose I get the most rewards out of it, and no one else gets to enjoy him as much as I do.
You know, I would like him to grow up and say, like, you know, even though my parents had me young, they did everything they could, and they tried their absolute hardest, and I've got everything I need.